Hi everyone, welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. We're back with another match preview. This week, we're going to be looking towards the West Ham game at the weekend. So on Sunday, Newcastle United will travel all the way down to the London Stadium for a 2 p.m. Super Sunday Sky Sports special against West Ham. I'm Scott. I'm your host for this one. I'm joined this week by Iain and Harry, both of them fresh from their vacations. We'll come to you first, Iain. How are you, and how are you refreshed after your trip?
Well, holiday with a child, not really refreshing. And you wouldn't really tell that I've been on holiday. I'm still see-through. So it was like I never went. But otherwise, really good. Back to reality, so a little bit sad. But it's cushioned the blow being here with you guys.
As always, you do keep making the mistake of wearing a white top, which you say every week, but you still do every week. So there we go. Harry, you're not in a white top. You've also just come back from holidays. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. I'm still slightly jet lagged, but not bad, not bad.
Well, as long as you're alert enough for the next 30 minutes, we should be all right. If you do like this preview and the stuff that we put out in the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel, please consider becoming a subscriber. We are so close to 9,000 subscribers. We can almost reach out and touch it. Almost. We're on, I think, 8,921. We are extremely close to that target. So please scroll down from this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up or thumbs down button. And also while you're there, hit the little bell icon to be notified when we post new content on this channel. We have a whole host of videos coming at you this week. They're about to record the All Smiling Faces podcast, which will be a live preview tonight. Obviously, by the time this goes out, it would have been last night, as always. So you can catch up on that. We've got this match preview. We've got the FPL show, which is also being recorded tonight. And then we should have a return to extra time because Roger has come back from his trip from Amsterdam, where he shared a lovely little pint with me. And we should be back on air for that on Friday night. So plenty to look forward to for the coming week, as well as this game. So before we get into the preview, just want to let you know that the Gallowgateshots match preview is brought to you by Magpin, as always. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle players, legends, and retro kits. They're also doing these awesome little postcard double-sided things for every single game. They look pretty cool. They're not that expensive either, which I kind of liked. If you want more information on that, you can go to magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. Okay, then. So as I mentioned just before, we are travelling down to the London Stadium on Sunday to play an out-of-form West Ham. Given the recent results hasn't been too good, Iain, we'll start with you. Confident going into this one?
More confident than I usually am. But saying that, I'm sure the last two times at the Olympic. In fact, is it the Olympic Stadium where we've got a fairly decent record? I think we won 2-0 a couple of seasons ago. I think it was 3-2 last season, picked up a draw. So it's not a bad ground to go to in terms of form. And obviously with West Ham's current form, the fact that they've got 2 European games, I think, either side of the game, I think it does bode well. Obviously, in terms of our form, I see a lot of people getting a little bit tetchy that we've only won 1 and 6. But I think if you can stats, you can sort of manipulate to do anything with. Obviously, the one loss was a bit of a robbery for us, and then there's points in there that realistically you would have looked last season and not expected to get. So I think it'll be a very, very even game. But I just think with the optimism and how everyone is at the club, I think you go into games now not dreading them, which really is all you want as a fan. You just want to enjoy watching your team. So, but yeah, I think it'll be a close game, but I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. You mentioned only 1 win this season for West Ham. That did come against Aston Villa. Obviously, we've only had 1 win as well this season, but the difference is we don't have 4 defeats where West Ham do. So they're currently sitting in 18th in the league when we're, I believe, in 11th, if I remember rightly. Harry, is this a good time to play West Ham?
They have been out of character However, after coming up against Chelsea, it did look better than they have been, I think, against them. And talking about robberies and ourselves, they also got robbed against Chelsea. But I think it'll be a tough game. It depends who comes back into our team. I think if we start with that same midfield, if Bruno's not back, I think we could get bounced off the park around the midfield, to be honest. Yes, Joe Linton is a powerhouse, but not with those two midfielders alongside him. But if we do come up against them, if we are starting Bruno, it could be an exciting game. And like Iain was saying, you don't dread it as much. With Sean Longstaff in midfield, I do slightly dread it, but we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, it is going to be the VAR-Derby, so we will see what happens. Probably if VAR wanted its own way, the match wouldn't even start. It'll be full time after 9 seconds. So we'll see what happens with that one. As you mentioned, they did pretty much get robbed, and I actually think it was worse than ours at the weekend. But we've all had a few poor VAR decisions go against us. I don't want to make this well, yeah, more than a few. I don't want to make this a VAR show. I've no doubt there'll be videos about this, but it's getting to a point now, Iain, where it's not just a coincidence, is it? You're starting to get the tin foil out and start wrapping around your head, aren't you? Not you personally, but
not me personally, no. Unless I'm doing my highlights. I don't think the problem is VAR. We've seen in the Euros last year. What year is it? Yeah, last year. That it was used quite effectively. I just think it's the same poor officials that were getting the mistakes wrong before VAR came in. I've seen something today. I think Lee Mason was the ref against Palace. In charge of VAR against Palace and Wolves. And I might be wrong here, but I'm fairly certain it was one of the games last season. It might have been where, I think possibly the City game, where Fraser got brought down off Edison. I might be wrong on that, but there's been a fair few games where he's been sort of either the official or the VAR official, and it's just blatant in terms of the foul or whatnot. But I think as a club, I think you are clutching at straws a little bit to say, oh well, if VAR hadn't had that decision, we had, especially on Saturday, we had a lot more chances than just that VAR decision to win. It was just a poor day at the office in terms of finishing. But obviously, with that in the back of your mind, you just kind of expect him, if there was a decision, to possibly go against it again. Obviously, it has helped out in a couple of instances, like the Wolves disallowed goal, but that was a blatant foul. So you can't really argue that either, because they are the decisions that are like there's been a blatant mistake. The contentious decisions that they're still getting wrong, I feel.
Yeah, and I think it's NBC every season do a league table on who has the most VAR results. I remember this time last season we were at the bottom. Before the weekend, I checked it this time, and we were actually at the top with the +3, because you had the Miggy goal against Man City, you had the Kieran Trippier sending off, which was overturned, and there was another one which I cannot. The Wolves goal. Yeah, so we were actually a +3. We're probably now down to a +1, maybe +2. Depends how they work it out, but it has worked in our favour as well a little bit this season. It's interesting you mentioned the City game last season, Iain, because it was Lee Mason, I do believe, but he didn't even go to VAR. He didn't even consult them. He was like, no, I'm right. That's it. So I think you're right in what you're saying, where it is the same officials who are making the same mistakes, whether they're on or off the pitch. There's been a lot of talk about changes to VAR, bringing in ex-professionals and ex-managers. Harry, what's your thoughts on that, just quickly?
I get the idea. I think kind of if you look at it like kind of just from the outside, just quickly, it seems like a brilliant idea, because I think we've seen our match of the day. They understand the game, they understand the pace of the game, how it is to play. But I did see a comment on Twitter from someone, I can't remember what it was, but I think it would be hard not to be biased if you're an ex-player or an ex-manager. I just think they've really got to sort the officiating out. I think don't get exposed in. It's just the consistency of the officiating, and it's stinking how wrong they were a few times this weekend. Worrying, to be honest, because I remember when the game finished, I was angry more at the fact, not of the officials, but I was angry more at the fact of, because what do we do now? Like, there's nothing that's going to happen. The game is over, and we've scored a perfectly fine goal. Like, where do you go next? And I know obviously it's gone up to the Premier League reported it to the referee and kind of committee, but that's still not enough. They've got to really, really look at it. And I would like to mention as well, because I was just thinking there, VAR really winds me up, and some people do disagree with me who I've had conversations with. But when a goal is disallowed or goal is being checked, they don't check for the problem that it's getting checked for. They'll then go and check something else if that's correct. Yeah. So if it's like, oh, it's not a handball, but was the offside? Was there a foul on the build-up? If it hasn't been spotted, if there's been no complaints, that's what ruins it for me. I think with VAR, it's just like, what's the problem? No, it's fine, carry on. Instead of going, oh, well, surely we can rule it out somehow, because that's how it's starting to feel, unfortunately. And it's taking a lot of the bite out of the game.
It does seem like they're going just beyond that clear and obvious mistake, which is kind of what it was initially sold as. Anyway, like I said, we're not going to be talking too much about VAR because we do have a game to look forward to. Like I mentioned earlier, West Ham haven't had the best of starts. They are still currently in 18th with 1 win, 1 draw and 4 defeats. Those defeats come in, against Chelsea and Man City, which you can probably accept. But then you've got Nottingham Forest and Brighton. And to be fair, Brighton are looking really good. They've just absolutely overdone Leicester yesterday at time of recording. I think with West Ham, they will probably be looking to bounce back from not only their defeats, but also the VAR decision that went against them, and more like us as well. They have brought in 9 players, Iain, in the summer transfer window, spending, now I got this in euros because my browser, being in Amsterdam, it always does this, 182 million euros, which is probably £6 from conversion rates. Obviously, a few players that were linked with Newcastle. So you've got Paqueta, Samaka, Kone, who've all linked in the summer to Newcastle as well. Whether we went in for them is a different story. And they've got a few others as well. Do you think they've spent wisely this summer?
If I'm honest, I haven't watched much of them. I can only sort of go on sort of what I usually do with transfers is look at how other clubs are reacting to them. But that's Gamaka. I think he was highly rated. Paqueta, well, it's an argument, were we really in for him? Or was he just Bruno's friend? I've seen a lot of people that watch a lot of football and have the opinion that he's very much a luxury player rather than sort of like a workhorse like our current current crop of players. And Kone, to be honest, I would have snapped your hand off for Kone. I think he done really, really well last season in a very poor Burnley side. But it's interesting now that that's the kind of players that we were linked with, and they're going to a club of the calibre of West Ham, who are now looking to push, where they were looking to push into the top 4 in the last couple of seasons, being in Europe. So you're definitely getting linked with better quality of players. So they do have players to hurt you. They've also got Jared Bowen, who's very, very good. Mikel Antonio, who on his days is very difficult to deal with. So they'll still have a lot of, although they've not started the best, they'll still have a lot of players to hurt you. And like you say, given what happened the previous game against Chelsea, they'll be looking to make some wrongs right. And for all it was, I thought, I sort of watched Match of the Day, I thought they give a very good account of themselves. So definitely players to hurt you. So it'll be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, you also forgot about the likes of Souček, who also is, an outstanding player. You've got Cresswell, who unfortunately this week is probably going to be ruled out with an injury. They've got a few injuries this week, Harry, which could bode in our favour. Their new centre-back, I think he's a centre-back, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Iain told us before it's Agard, so I'm going to go with Agard. Cresswell, they had Samaka out last week with an illness, so he probably will be back, you'd like to think, but Who knows? It depends on how much he trains. And they've also got Dawson and Johnson, who are waiting to be assessed, but it looks like they'll probably miss it as well. So there seems to be a shortage of centre-backs at West Ham at the moment due to their injuries. Is that something Newcastle could capitalise on with the likes of Isak, and hopefully if Bruno comes back into the frame, do you think we could pounce on that and actually, nick a few goals from there?
You'd hope so. I know that they've brought in, is it like Kerr or something from Paris Saint-Germain?
Yep.
And I know I was telling you before about the nightmare he had in the 2 games back-to-back with giving away the penalty and the own goals. So if he's in that type of form, then happily, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll score some goals. But I don't think for a team like West Ham, I think with them being in Europe and things like that, David Moyes will be working on individual players and putting them in different teams, because they're going to need a lot of depth this season. They're going to need to change the teams around. So I don't think it'll be a case of where it's like, oh, you're getting thrown in, you've got to perform like this. And they'll have worked on it already. It'll have been something that's already been planned for. So no, I don't think it'll affect them too heavily. I can't say for sure because I don't watch them week in, week out. But I don't think it will affect them too heavily. I do think it's going to be a tough game because, like you mentioned, we've got Souček for them, and they've got Rice and those types of players who are solid, and they've got a solid team, and they've been sensible. I know you were saying before to Iain about who they've brought in and stuff, but bringing in the new striker, Antonio, is probably getting towards the end now, getting on a bit like Wilson, to be honest, and we've both brought in a striker. So no, centre-backs, I don't think it'll cause too much of an issue. However, I do think Isak could cause an issue just because of how good he is. Some quality. Hopefully he gets some more support as well, compared to when he did against Palace as well.
Absolutely. You'd like to think he's learned from his little mistake of trying to dink it over the keeper. I mean, well within his right to do so, but for me, not when it's 0-0. Maybe if you're 2-3-0 up, you can try those, but just put your foot through it.
His touch was world class, though, on the halfway line when it went in the end, he took it down.
It really was.
Brilliant.
Yeah, you mentioned Declan Rice. Obviously, past few games with him, he's either performed really well or he's been in Joe Linton's back pocket. I seem to remember that 1-0 draw. Joe Linton just annihilated him in terms of his performance, and it was his skew-if header which led to Joe Willock scoring that really strange goal where he just taps it. He just sticks his leg out and it bounces across the line and goes in, if you remember that from February just gone. Iain, I'll come to you about Declan Rice. Obviously, he's an England international. Obviously, he's a world-class centre midfielder. But is that something that Newcastle can contain with the power that we have in centre midfield, providing Bruno is fit and starts?
I think definitely with just before what we're saying on Joe Linton's an absolute animal. So I think he can contain probably the best of any midfielder. Which again, even though I know he's had such an upturn in form, and it's been literally since the Norwich game onwards, he's just kept performing. It still seems weird to say that he's an absolute powerhouse. But no, I think you need your key players in games like this, a bit tougher opposition where they have the quality in their squad. I think you need both Bruno and Joe Linton to be fitting up for this game. I think Declan Rice, like I say, he is a quality player. I know there was the comparison of Declan Rice and Sean Longstaff, and you've seen sort of the trajectory of both of those careers. So he does, like I say, does have it in his back pocket to unlock defences, and very solid defensively as well. So, but I think, like you say, if you put Joe Linton on him, and hopefully Joe Linton has one of his shithouse games, he can sort of ruffle a few feathers as well and keep him quiet.
He did seem to be rather, I don't want to use the word outspoken because I don't think he was, but he was outspoken in terms of the rules and what the Premier League wanted to do about the VAR decisions. Obviously, he put posts up on Twitter. I don't know if you saw the video of him shouting at the refs in the tunnel, saying, it's blatant, you're awful, corruption, words that we used, which you cannot really be using these days with the Premier League because they will cut you down on that. There's a chance that he gets reprimanded for that. There's a chance that he might not even get a game on Saturday or Sunday even. If the Premier League want to, I think the Premier League be burning themselves if they do that. But even the manager, David Moyes, was rather outspoken again in terms of what the Premier League would like. So he may get fined, he may get touchline ban, whatever. We'll have to see what happens this week. We are recording this on Monday, so there's a long way to go before the game at the weekend. And before that game at the weekend, obviously, West Ham have a European game on the Thursday, which will also help us, I feel, in terms of player fitness and player sharpness for them. Like I say, with the amount of injuries they have, they're wanting to take Europe seriously. Yes, it is a group game, but it's still a game that they'll probably want to put out a full-strength team. So with that in mind, we'll come to our lineup and what we think it's going to be. And we'll get the obvious ones out of the way to begin with. So Nick Pope in goal, I think we can all agree with. Kieran Trippier as right back, we can all agree with. And then Isak up front, I think we can all agree with that. And a Joe Linton in the middle. So around that, you've got to really take into consideration fitness and then performances. So we'll start with the back line. Obviously, we've got Pope and Trippier in there. Harry, do you keep Matt Targett at left back and then Botman and Shaw as your two centre backs, or do you mix it up a bit?
Yeah, you keep that. I think you keep Botman, Shaw, and Targett. I did find it a weird one when he was taken off at the weekend for Dan Burn. I found it a peculiar change to make. Targett's not very progressive up the pitch, but he's a lot more progressive than Dan Burn would be. So I don't know if there's something wrong with him, if he's had a niggle again, or if he's feeling it, or just slowly come back into it. But you keep that for Targett as long as he's all right. And like you said, obviously you got your no ones like Isak and Joe Linton who are definitely starting for you.
Yeah, I think with Targett, unless we hear anything in Eddie's press interviews, I think it was probably just still bringing him back to match fitness after his time off. So he's probably say, right, you'll have an hour. We'll bring on Dan Burn, depending on how the score is, depending on how you're dealing with, whatever player was up against him. It wasn't Zaha, was it? It was the other side with Palace.
Elise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because he came on around the same time as Dan Burn.
And you'd like to think that Dan Burn could do a job against Antonio in terms of physicality, but I don't know if he's got the pace to keep up with Antonio, who he's not the fastest, but he's no slowpoke either. We'll move up the pitch a little bit, and we'll come to you, Iain. Obviously, centre midfield, we're probably all expecting a Joe Linton start. If Bruno's fit, you obviously start him, but there is that last centre midfield role where there's an argument for Elliot Anderson, there's an argument for Joe Willock, and there's an argument for Sean Longstaff. What do you do there?
Again, it's a good headache to have, which we're not used to. I think from what I've seen of Elliot Anderson, that he's a player. I think I've seen a clip today. Obviously, I didn't see the past game because I was on holiday. But I've seen a clip of sort of his little cameo, and he just looks like he wants to get on the ball and progress forward. If I'm honest, I have been a little bit disappointed with Joe Willock this season. And I think that's coming from, given how he was on loan, I think that's still in the back of my mind of he's not really contributing with goals or assists. And if I'm honest, I think he started the season last season quite similarly. I think he was quite a slow starter last season. That being said, he is still a young lad. And I think with him, he's a very sort of confidence-driven player. So you've seen that run that he went on where it was, I think, 8 or 9 games, might be 7, 8, 9 games in a row he scored. The quality is there. I just think he's like I say, he's a confidence-driven player, and if he's possibly has to be playing a little bit of a different role from then as well. So I do have to bear that in mind. But I think I probably would say he would start just because of given the sort of the quality that you're up against. I think he's probably got more match experience than Elliot Anderson, but I do expect Anderson to start getting a lot more minutes based on his performances, because he's warranted it, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's done really well when he's come on, and obviously he can fill a couple of positions, not just in centre midfield, but also he can kind of play out wide, which brings us quite nicely to the players will play out wide. What a seamless link that is. Harry, do you stick with the two of Mickey and Fraser, or do you switch it up again? We don't think St. Maximin's going to be fit. He's still in his oxygen chamber. He seems to be in that for about 4 days now. So hopefully there's enough oxygen to keep him going. But obviously, if Saint's fit, he comes in, but we don't think he will be. So do you stick with what it is, or do you bring in Jacob Murphy or anybody else?
No. What a silly question. No.
Thanks.
I think Almiron, you've got to start. He does so much for the team, not just up the field, but at the back as well. You've got no reason to drop Almiron. But Fraser, I wouldn't mind to see Anderson there, to be honest with you. I feel like if Maxie's not starting, we'll have to be direct from the wide, like from the sides, because I think Fraser was good, but the amount of times he was coming towards the box and just went away from the box towards the corner flag and just found himself in a bit of a hole really and couldn't get out of it. So I'd start Anderson because that's where he came on, and that's when he made quite a big impact on the game against Palace. I really wouldn't mind to see him. Honestly, I'd love to see Anderson in that left wing spot. I know you've been talking about the midfield there, but I don't think Anderson would work there if Bruno's not fit, because I don't know who you drop, because then it's very attacking midfield. I don't think Sean Longstaff's good enough in that number 6 role. But yeah, if you're going to play Anderson at the start, he's got to start left wing unless Bruno's back, and then I'd like to see him in the midfield.
Excellent. Well, I think we're also in agreement that Isak starts unless Wilson's fit. I mean, they said a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks. Be interesting to see if he makes any of the training photos this week online. Like I said before, we're filming this on the Monday night, so we don't know what's happening for the rest of the week. But we wanted to get this one out early so that everybody has a chance to watch it before the game, because it's been a bit of a mad rush these last couple of weeks with the midweek games and Sunday kickoffs and everything like that. So we want to give you all plenty of time to watch this. So if we look at the history of this fixture, the last 6 games, Newcastle have won 3, drawn 2 and lost 1. And that one loss was last season, first game of the season, which we have West Ham back-to-back first game of the season, last season and the season before?
The season before, we won 2-0 away.
Yeah.
Then we got beat 4-2 at home,
4-2, It was Wilson and Murphy were the goals from our side. And then
Wilson does love a goal against West Ham, doesn't he?
Does love a West Ham
so
goal.
Even if he's available, there's no saying just start him on the bench, bring him on the last 15-20 minutes if you need a goal. Fingers crossed you don't have to do that, but he does like a goal against West Ham. Yeah,
if we're 0-0 or it's 1-0 down and we're looking to be on top, maybe it's worth making that little change. And then, like I said before, in February, we drew 1-1 with them. So we'll move on to our predictions. I'll come to you, Harry. What's your prediction for this one? I've had a few weeks off, so you can think about your predictions.
It's been a hard one, I think. All the sports bars didn't have any of the games. We watched it on Dodgy, so I only ever caught like 30 minutes of each game. But I think it could be 1-0 to us. I think it could be quite a scrappy game. I think against West Ham, there's always a bit of tension and always like kind of, especially when you've got like Joe Linton and Rice, people with such kind of, I don't know, not tempers as such. I mean, Joe Linton's definitely a temper like, but I think it could be 1-0, could be scrappy. And hopefully Isak gets his goal. I think it's going to be a tough one for him. I think missing that goal at home, I think that would have been the perfect start to his Newcastle career if he got that one at home. So I'd like to see Isak get a goal and make it 1-0, to be honest.
Yeah, I had flashbacks of Miggy Almiron when he broke free when he first started for us, and he lobbed the keeper and hit the post.
I think the post,
which I think if that had gone in, we'd have a very different Miggy Almiron for the next 30 games until he actually did score, or however many it was.
It was a Jacob Murphy as well, wasn't it? Just put it in the net. When he tries to think
as well.
It doesn't work for Newcastle. Just pack it in. Just absolutely smash it like you did against Liverpool, and you're laughing.
Yeah, unless your name's Philippe Albert and it's Peter Schmeichel in goal. Which I don't know if you remember or not, Harry. I don't know if you're old enough.
No,
but absolutely.
I've seen the goal. But it was 6 years before I was born, unfortunately. Or something
Cheers,
like that.
Harry.
Sorry, just thought I'd drop that one in there.
That's even me feel old.
Well, we'll come to you now, Iain, for your prediction. First of all, has little Joey give her a prediction?
You know what it is? I forgot to ask him. He's so just hyper from being on holiday and then being back with his cousins. I completely forgot to ask him. I'll get him I'll tell you what, if because I'll get them on Friday, and if extra time's on Friday, we usually do a prediction on there, so I'll get it on Friday for him. My prediction on this one. Now, there was a poll where it asked you how many points off the next, I think it was 5 games, and I think I said 2 draws, which would have been Palace and West Ham, and the rest wins, because I think we've got a fairly easier run coming up. But the optimist in is I'm going to go 2-1 win. My initial prediction was going to be 1-1. Just we seem to be draw specialists at the minute. But given that West Ham are on a poor run of form, they'll have European games either side. I think you said they've only scored 3 goals, is that right?
Only scored 3, yeah. They've conceded 8.
And I think there is, now with the threat of Isaac up front, I think there's goals in our team. So I'm going to go optimistic 2-1 win.
Good stuff. Yeah, keep those fingers crossed. Absolutely. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. I went for 3-0 in the last game and it ended 0-0. So we'll see how well that goes. But yeah, like you've said, West Ham haven't been scoring many at all. And I think we can use that in our favour. Our defence has been pretty solid, and we can shut up shop pretty easily. And I think one of the benefits to us as well is Nick Pope, who we haven't really discussed, but if he has another blinder, I think it's just normal for him from what we've seen. We should have no problems keeping a clean sheet yet again. So yeah, I'll go 2-0. I think Isak will get one, and if Wilson's on the bench, he can come off and score a 90th minute. We're not to really rub it in the wounds. Awesome. Thanks, lads, for your time. It's really enjoyed this one. If you do like what you've just seen, please scroll down the page and hit the little thumbs up button. It really helps us reach other Newcastle United fans looking for content on YouTube and on Google. Also, while you're there, please hit the subscribe button. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we're so close to 9,000 subscribers. It would mean the world to all of us if we could hit that as soon as possible. So hit subscribe, hit your likes, and also hit the bell if you want to be notified for any new videos coming your way. If you want to go that extra little step, we do have a membership program. It is $2.99 or $4.99 a month. That gets you access to these videos as early access, as well as the FPL show and any other content that we put out through the week that's not live. You also get access to the Telegram group, where I think there's 130 people in there at the moment. And it's, like I've said, I think every single week, it's a real nice community of just like-minded Newcastle fans who just want to talk about Newcastle. And yeah, it's a real hotbed on match days. You'll get a lot of notifications, a lot of videos, whatever you need, it's there. So that is included in the membership, and it's probably worth the price alone just for that. But anyway, like I said before, thanks, Iain. Thanks, Harry. It's been a pleasure. Iain, we'll see you on Friday for extra time. Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. And Harry, we'll probably see you in the next preview, if not before.
Hopefully so. I'm back, so get involved again. Love talking to you.
He's back, baby. He's back. And on that one, we will wish everyone a nice rest of your week and a good luck for the weekend. Here's hoping we can get the results that either of us predicted or any of us predicted, because we all predicted a win, and we'll get 3 points on the board. We'll see you in the next one. Ta-da.